If you want to get a good glimpse into the psyche of American culture, if you want to know the mind state of the country, look at fan and sometimes athlete behavior in sports. The culture in sports reflects the overall mentality of the country. 4 years ago, America was at its peak. We were at a peak that we hadn't seen since the Clinton administration in the 90s. Violence down. Damn near every economic metric was up. Wages were increasing. Gas was below $2 a gallon. People had money in their pockets. Now, the mainstream media, they were trying to ruin it for everyone, but when times are good, when people are happy, the media has very little influence. During the Trump administration, talking heads on CNN, MSNBC, they were telling us that the sky was falling. No one believed them. Unemployment was low. Stock market was hitting all-time highs. You know what else was low? Physical altercations at sporting events. Since fans returned to stadiums and arenas, we have seen a massive uptick in violence at sporting events. Every week, sometimes multiple times a week, a report will show up on my news feed about some sort of altercation at a sporting event, whether it's between the players and the fans, two coaches arguing or fighting, or between the fans themselves. Altercations at sporting events has become the norm. Why? Why? Well, if you believe the mainstream media, which most people don't, the media will tell you it's COVID aggression. People have been locked in their homes for 2 years. They're extremely angry, and they take out that anger at sporting events. Last year, I could buy that excuse. Matter of fact, when we talked about this last year, I said the COVID aggression likely could be the cause. But the COVID is over. Hell, the COVID has been over. I know it just ended 3 weeks ago for the Biden administration and the mainstream media, but for the rest of us, we have been over the COVID for 18 months. So why do we continue to see violent behavior at sporting events? And I'm not just talking about college and professional sports, it's happening everywhere. In the last 2 or 3 years, high school sports across the country have lost over 50,000 referees. The reason? Parent and fan behavior. Referees are not quitting because of the kids, they're quitting because of the fucking parents, mainly the fathers. There is a serious shortage of real men in this country. The last 30 years, not only have men been conditioned to act like women, they have been conditioned to act like children. Men are emotionally immature. We need to teach them to be more sensitive, more in tune with their feelings. The result? Millions of sensitive men are walking the streets acting like women and children. The same feminists preaching that men should be more sensitive are the same feminists asking, where are all the real men at? It's impossible to find real men when you have conditioned them to be like women. Listen to all these incidents at sporting events that have happened in just the last week alone. Monday, an unidentified fan at a college basketball game in Des Moines told an Iowa player to go kill himself. Why? He missed a free throw. Monday again, Russell Westbrook told the media that he will not allow his family, mainly his children, to attend games anymore. He doesn't want his kids exposed to fans treating their dad like shit. Now, I criticized his wife earlier this week for publicly coming to his defense. It wasn't her place to do so, but her premise was right. There is a huge difference in criticizing Russell Westbrook for his game on the court and personally attacking him and his family. There's a big difference in booing him and telling him to harm himself or that you'll go after his children. Nina Westbrook was right in her message, but the message, it should have been delivered by Russell Westbrook, which, in his defense, he did. And it's the reason I said she should stay out of it in the first place. All Nina Westbrook did was make things worse. Tuesday, there was an altercation at the Northeast Conference Championship game. Bryant, Wagner, they were playing for a spot in the NCAA tournament. Clearly, fans in the arena didn't give a shit about that. Check out what happened. All of these incidents happened in a 48-hour stretch. I haven't even mentioned the brawl at the soccer match in Mexico on Sunday, one of the most brutal altercations that you will ever see at a sporting event. Now, I'm not including that one because I want to talk about the reason we are seeing this here in America. We are not just talking about swearing at officials or the players. I don't want to call that normal behavior, but that type of thing happens at sporting events. But what we're seeing is verbal abuse and physical violence. I go back to my original question. Why? I'm going to give you the media excuses, and then I'm going to tell you the real reason. Like I said earlier, the media is blaming COVID aggression. But have no fear, they have other explanations too. USA Today interviewed Daniel Wan, a psychology professor at Murray State. This expert came up with a variety of reasons for the uptick of violence at sporting events. He described sporting events as a tinderbox of aggression. There are two diametrically opposed groups of people with a deep emotional attachment to the performance of their team. Oh, typical psychobabble. You know, I'm no Confucius or some other Greek philosopher. I'm just some guy with the ability to read through the bullshit. And that was some good bullshit. If they served that bullshit at Waffle House, it would be a bestseller. There have always been opposing groups of people at sporting events. They call them fans. Some cheer for one team, others cheer for the opposing team. People have been attending sporting events for thousands of years. Has there been violence in the past? Of course, but not at the level we're seeing now. In the past, if there was an altercation at a sporting event, it made national news. Now, when it happens, it's just another story. You probably don't even hear about it. Daniel Wan also blamed large crowds. It's a mob mentality. People are behaving this way because the mob is behaving this way. They think they won't get caught. This is partially true. But again, there have been large crowds throughout my life at sporting events. We are talking about the increase in violent behavior, Daniel. Give me a real reason. All you're doing is repeating the same excuses we have heard before. His next excuse, alcohol. Again, alcohol has always been sold at sporting events. People like to blame alcohol for problems like this, but alcohol is the symptom. It's not the problem. The only thing alcohol does besides make you drunk is lower your inhibitions. Whatever it is that you're thinking, whether you're angry, happy, sad, all alcohol does is expose your true emotions, your true thoughts. If you're happy before drinking, you'll be a happy drunk. If you're pissed off before drinking, you're going to be an angry drunk. Alcohol is the symptom to the larger problem. What we are seeing at sporting events represents the psyche of the country. Anger, division, violence. This is not happening by accident. This is by design. What have I been saying for 2 years? The media, the government, the politicians, the agenda, they are doing everything they can to keep people divided. They divide you on race. They divide you on gender, transgender, proper pronouns, sexuality, politically, religion, financially. They are attacking you on all fronts. You're seeing the result of this at sporting events. Their plan is working. Can you think of a reason that people would be angry right now? I don't know. Maybe they're tired of being called a racist. You have white people in the media calling other white people racist. When you hear that over and over and over again for 2 years, it becomes the norm. What happens, people start looking at other races differently. Instead of the black guy or the white guy sitting next to you being a fellow American, some people start looking at them as a potential enemy. People are struggling financially right now. Not only that, they're being lied to about why they're struggling financially. Did you see that propaganda Jen Psaki put out earlier this week? In case you missed it, here it is. It is 90 seconds of pure bullshit.
You may have noticed this week that your gas prices have gone up. I want to talk to you a little bit about why. A lot of it has to do with Vladimir Putin. The reality is that Russia is one of the 3 largest oil producers in the world, and the fact that they have started this conflict, invaded a foreign country, and they are such a big producer of oil in the world is the reason why the global oil markets are disturbed right now and why your gas prices are going up. The president's going to do everything he can to bring down the price of gas for the American people. But there are a few facts you should be aware of. U.S. production of oil and gas is rising. In fact, in the first year of the Biden presidency, there was more oil and gas produced in the United States than the first year of the Trump presidency. And there's opportunities to produce more from here. But part of this is on the oil companies. Right now, there are 9,000 approved unused permits that oil and gas companies could tap into now to ramp up production. So what the president is doing is ensuring we're taking steps here to get more oil out into the global marketplace. That includes the release of 40 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve back in the fall, and he just announced their planned release of an additional 30 million barrels. The only way to protect the United States over the long term is to become energy independent. That's why the president has been so focused on investing in clean energy technologies, so that we can rely on that and not President Putin to set the price of gas.
Here's the thing. People know this is bullshit. It's propaganda. They are trying to blame Russia for everything right now. Inflation, it's Russia. High gas prices, it's Russia. Joe Biden can't find his brain, it's Russia. Kamala Harris doesn't have a clue, it's Russia. People are tired of being lied to. Does Jen Psaki's propaganda have anything to do with sports? No. But it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's just another added cut to the hundreds you already have. We have been lied to about gas prices, inflation, the COVID. We have been conditioned to be divided. Now you put all of that in a blender, mix it with a little bit of booze and the emotion of a sporting event, and is anyone surprised that there's an increase in violence? Hell, I haven't even mentioned the lack of consequences. You see on the news, people looting stores, attacking people, turning over cop cars, and nothing happens to them. They're out on free bail within a matter of hours. My little fight at this game is nothing compared to what's happening on the streets. No one will care. It is not the COVID. It's not the booze. It's the culture. A culture that has been created by people in power and relentlessly promoted by the media. And you know who the winner is in all this? It ain't us. The winner is the politicians, the people in power behind all of it. As long as we are divided, they retain their power. The only way the agenda has any power at all is by keeping the country divided. The only thing standing in the way right now of global oppression is America. Globalists have to topple America to implement their worldwide utopia. This utopia is where a select few have all the money, all the power, and the rest of us live in misery. Go back in history. Look at the rise of power of dictators. Pick any dictator. It doesn't matter which one. The story's always the same. Create an enemy. Create a problem. Divide the population on that enemy or problem. Ruin the economy with policies you know will damage the lower and middle class. Force people to beg you for a solution. The people who created the problem come through with the solution. And the solution is always the loss of personal freedom in exchange for physical and financial security, neither of which exist. The end result is a life of misery. But let me know what you think. Why do you think we are seeing an increase in altercations at sporting events? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.